Good morning, students. So, hope you all fine at your home. You're doing good. So, we are continuing our chapter, that is human development. We were discussing about human development and various aspects of human development in the case of India. Before that, the last chapter was regarding human development, which gave you an idea about what human index is, what is human development, what is human development index, right? So what is the situation globally of human development, right? And in this chapter, what we are going to discuss, we are going to discuss about human development scenario in India. Okay, so we're going to start now. So, human development in India. India, with a population of over 1.09 billion, is ranked 127 among 172 countries in terms of the Human Development Index. It is written 127 among 178, right? It is written like that. But according to 2019, it is like 129. The rank is 129. But I think here the data is somewhat different, and sometimes the textbook in which you are looking at also there will be some changes. So because it's of the different edition, maybe a slight change would be there. So you can just check it out. So with the composite HDI value of 0.602. So the value of HDI Human Development Index for India is 0.6028. India finds herself grouped with countries showing medium human development. So India is showing medium human development. So in which position India is, in which category is India coming? India is coming in medium human development category. Okay. So you can see that human development index is given for various countries over here. Norway is having the highest value, that is 0.963. So Norway ranks the first, and after that Australia is there, Sweden, Switzerland, USA, Japan, UK, France, Germany, Argentina, Cuba, Russia, Brazil. These countries are there, and you can just see that India's position over here. Okay, it is 0.602. Okay. Low scores in the HDI is a matter of serious concern. Some reservations have been expressed about the approach as well as indicators selected to calculate the index values and ranking of the states and countries. You know that we were discussing various aspects are being taken, right? Various aspects are being taken for calculating Human Development Index. But that indicators or that components does not suit all the countries. It does not suit all the countries. They should be much more ingredients should be added to that. That is the only way that we can get a better picture of that particular country. If we take in the case of India, lack of sensitivity to historical factors like colonization, imperialization, neo-imperialism, socio-cultural factors like human rights violation, social discrimination on the basis of race, religion, gender and caste, social problems like crimes, terrorism, and war, and political factors like nature of the state, forms of the government, democracy or dictatorship, of empowerment are some factors that are very crucial in determining the nature of human development. So this is not only in the case of India. In India, many things are not coming, which we have just discussed now. But in the case of India, the other things are coming, that socio-cultural factors, the colonization, imperialism and neo-imperialism, in the same way human rights violation, and all the crimes and everything is coming in the case of India. But in many other countries, some problems like war, then forms of government, democratic or dictatorship. You know, India is a democratic country, right? But there are some countries where dictators are there. The best example I can just tell you about North Korea. Kim Jong-un, he's ultimate leader of North Korea. He is a dictator, and the people of North Korea are facing a different type of government in which their rights, their freedom is very much restricted. So all these things should be taken into account. All these things should be taken into account when we are calculating human development index. Okay, so because these factors determine the actual development of that particular country, whether it can, because terrorism, war, and this political factors, how can they be a reason? Because a country's development depends upon a particular government, the government which is ruling that country. What are the main objectives of that particular government? Whether they are investing their whole financial, where they are investing the whole money which they got from their GDP, whatever, in defense purpose, or they are doing some policies, or they are just promoting some programs which are people oriented. All these things are very much important. Only after regarding all these factors we can just conclude a particular development range. So these aspects have special significance in case of India and many other developing countries. Yeah. So these things are very important for most of the developing countries, not that of developed countries. Using the indicators selected by the UNDP, that is United Nations Development Program, the Planning Commission of India also prepared the Human Development Report for India. It used states and the union territories as the unit of analysis. Subsequently, each state government also started preparing state-level human development reports. So this is going from macro level to micro level. The studies and the analysis are being done from countries, then state, then district is being done. Okay. Although the final HDI by the Planning Commission of India has been calculated by taking the 3 indicators as discussed in the book entitled, the main 3 indicators of human development, that is access to resources, education, health. These are the important 3 aspects which are being taken for calculating it. Yet this report also discussed other indicators like economic attainment, okay, social empowerment, social distributive justice, accessibility, hygiene, and various welfare measures undertaken by the state. Okay, we have taken 3 different components which we know. And after that, we have also taken some other indicators like economic attainment, okay, social empowerment, social distributive justice, accessibility, hygiene, and various welfare measures which are being taken by state. Okay, there are lots of programs, the programs which are people oriented. All these things are taken into account for generating the Human Development Index. So some of the important indicators have been discussed in the following pages. We will see to it. Now, indicators of economic attainments. What are the indicators of economic attainments? Rich resource base and access to these resources by all, particularly the poor, downtrodden, and the marginalized, is the key to productivity. So what is the key to productivity? So the key to productivity and well-being and human development is providing access to resources, particularly to the poor one, downtrodden, who are downtrodden and are marginalized. When the access of resources reach to the hands of those people who are not getting that particular comfort, when all other population is getting, when the day comes, the people who are in the lower level of our country, when they are getting that access to all the important things, all the basic amenities, when they are fulfilling all their basic amenities, then we can say that, yeah, definitely our country has reached that human development. Yeah, our country is productive now. Gross National Product, that is GNP. Gross National Product is the total amount of, we can just say like that, it's the total amount of the products which are being produced in our country and the revenue which is received from it, and its per capita availability are taken as measures to assess the resource base endowment of any country. Okay. For India, it is estimated that its GDP was, gross domestic product was rupees 3,200 crores, okay, at current price, and accordingly per capita income was 20,813 at current prices. Apparently, these figures indicate an impressive performance. By seeing the GDP, we can just think like that, yeah, India is having a good GDP. So the development is going on, but that's not the important thing, okay? But prevalence of poverty, deprivation, malnutrition, illiteracy, various types of prejudices, and above all, social distributive injustice and large-scale regional disparities, all the so-called economic achievements. We have economic achievements. We have our GDP more than 3,200, means per capita income was 20,830. But yeah, development is there in the case of GDP and all other economic relies. But when we just think about the other side, you can see that prevalence of poverty. Okay, prevalence of poverty, deprivation, malnutrition, no, illiteracy, various types of prejudices, above all, social distributive injustices and large-scale regional disparities. Regional disparities, social means what to say, discrimination, social discrimination, the same way malnutrition, illiteracy, all these things all together is hindering the achievements that have been achieved by our economic growth. So it does not matter that our country is a productive one in the case of GDP, GNP, whatever. Okay, we will be having lots and lots of revenue. Maybe our country is having a much good financial status than our nearby country. But some problems like this still prevail in India, which is hindering the achievements which we have raised there. Okay, sometimes in your textbook these sentences would not be there. Anyways, you can just see here, okay, but it's not an issue. The same thing will be there in your textbook also in some other sentences, okay. So there are a few developed states like Maharashtra, Punjab, Haryana, Gujarat and Delhi that have per capita income more than rupees 4,000, okay, per year. And there are large number of poorer states like Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Orissa, Madhya Pradesh, Assam, Jammu and Kashmir, etc. So that is the variation which we were talking about. It is not equally distributed all over India. There are great differences in the variation in the per capita income achieved by a particular state. The variation is seen over here only. You can see it. They have just recorded rupees 2,000 per capita income, less than 2,000, and there are states they have more than rupees 4,000, right? So this is the situation. Corresponding to these disparities, the developed states have higher per capita consumption expenditure as compared to the poor state. So the per capita consumption is also more on those richer states. Okay, it was estimated to be more than rupees 690 per capita per month in states like Punjab, Haryana and Kerala, Maharashtra, Gujarat. Rupees 690 per capita per month in states like Punjab, Haryana, Kerala, Maharashtra and Gujarat. Okay, these states have seen 690 per capita income per month were also recorded. In the same way, there are some states like Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Orissa and Madhya Pradesh where it is less than rupees 520. Okay, these are some numbers which are given for just describing the total level of economic growth of a particular state, how they are growing economically. That is what these numbers represent. Okay, these variations are indicative of some other deep-seated economic problems like poverty, unemployment, and underemployment. So maybe, yeah, there may be development in the case of their productivity and all, but still there prevail the problems like poverty, unemployment and underemployment. Or we can just consider that the states like Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Orissa and all, the poverty, unemployment and underemployment is more in these states. Okay. The disaggregated data of poverty for the states show that there are states like Orissa and Bihar which have recorded more than 40% of their population living below poverty line. So we can just see over here the states like Orissa and Bihar. Bihar, you can see, more than 42.60% of people are living below poverty line. In the same way, Orissa, when we consider Orissa, 47.15% of people are living below poverty line. The states of Madhya Pradesh, Sikkim, Assam, Tripura, Arunachal Pradesh, Meghalaya, Nagaland have more than 30% of their population living under poverty line. So there are states where more than 40% of people who are living in below poverty line. There are also states where 30% of total population are living under poverty. So the poverty is a state of deprivation, right? They are not able to get access to many things. In absolute terms, it reflects the inability of an individual to satisfy certain basic needs for sustaining. So in absolute terms, what does poverty means? It is the inability of an individual to satisfy certain basic needs for sustained. For sustained means for sustainability. Okay, so that is the important thing which we have to note about poverty. So the healthy and reasonably productive living, or sustained and healthy and reasonably productive living. So employment rate for educated youth is 25%. Jobless growth and rampant employment are some of the important reasons for higher incidence of poverty in India. So what are the important reasons for poverty in India? The main reason is unemployment. The main reason is unemployment. Most of the young citizens of India are not getting jobs. They are not getting jobs, and unemployment is one of the biggest problem which is being faced by India. And we have discussed in the last class also that what are the reasons for this ranking of India, like HDI ranking, why does it's going down and down? So we have discussed that there are the main reason is inequality, unemployment. Okay, we discussed that day. So that is the reason, that unemployment is the most important reason which is making this change. Now let's move on to indicators of a healthy life. Life free from illness and ailment and living a reasonably long lifespan are indicative of a healthy life. So what is a healthy life? Life free from illness and ailment and living a reasonably long lifespan are indicative of a healthy life. Availability of pre- and postnatal healthcare facilities in order to reduce infant mortality and post-delivery deaths among mothers, old age healthcare, adequate nutrition and safety of individual are some important measures of a healthy and reasonable long life. So what is this prenatal and postnatal? Prenatal healthcare are given to those pregnant women, okay, before their delivery, and postnatal is like it's after the birth of the child. Okay, so and this can help reduce infant mortality rate. So the infant mortality rate can be reduced by this thing, by giving proper health facilities during pre and postnatal times. And post-delivery deaths among mothers. Sometimes during while giving birth, most of the women death happens, so we can just protect them. We can just give good health facilities for them. In the same way, old age health care, adequate nutrition and safety of individual are some important measures of a healthy and reasonable long life. So giving much importance to those women who are pregnant and also giving importance to old age people can help us to attain that life expectancy which we just believe, which we just want to attain, and it can help, that can also measure a healthy life. Okay, India has done reasonably well in some of the health indicators, like decline in death rate from 25.1% in 1951 to 8.1 per thousand in 1999, and infant mortality from 148 per thousand to 70 during the same period. So these are some of the achievements of India. You know, the medical facilities for better health conditions is being developing or is being growing in a much faster rate, and the awareness given about that is also been increasing. That is the reason why we can see these changes and these reducing numbers which is a very positive sign considering the health scenario of India. Similarly, it also succeeded in increasing life expectancy at birth from 37.1 years to 62.3 for males. It's for males, and 36.2 to 65.3 years for females from 1951 to 1999. But now the overall life expectancy is 68.7 years. It has changed. So these are great achievements. A lot needs to be done. Similarly, it has also done reasonably well in bringing down birth rate from 40.2 to 26.1 during the same years, but it still is much higher than many developed countries. You know, the number of birth should be in control, because we know that our population explosion, India is increasing its population in very much higher speed than many other countries. You know that China is the most populated country in the world, but the time has reached that any time India can just cross over China. India can cross over China and become the most populated country in the world. Yeah, okay, population is always a resource for us, but overpopulation, population explosion is a very big problem, which will be giving lots of hits to the country. The problem is that because of this population explosion only, that inequality comes, unemployment comes, no? Government is not able to use its resources properly. Our all natural resources get exploited, pollution, everything. So that are the big problems which can happen due to population explosion. So that too India have reduced, you know, from 40.8 it has reduced to 26.1. You know, that's a very good thing which has been initiated. The situation is more alarming when seen in the context of gender specific and rural and urban health indicators. India has recorded declining female sex ratio. So female sex ratio, you know what is sex ratio? Sex ratio is the number of females per 1,000 males. That is what sex ratio is. So India has recorded a declining sex ratio. Okay. The findings of 2001 census of India are very disturbing, particularly in case of child sex ratio between 0 to 6 age. So there is something which we have to think about. The child sex ratio between 0 to 6 age group is very much disturbing. What would be the thing which would be disturbing them? Yeah, definitely it will be very low. Number of female kids will be very much less, right? The other significant features of the report are, with the exception of Kerala, the child sex ratio has declined in all the state, and it is the most alarming in the developed state of Haryana and Punjab, where it is below 800 female children per 1,000 male children, except for Kerala. That is the most beautiful thing of Kerala. Here we can see that even if we consider our schools also, number of girls are more than the boys, right? So Kerala should be very much proud about that, because Kerala is the only state where child sex ratio does not decline, right? The only state in India where child sex ratio is okay, is good, and all other states it was in a declining trend. And the most alarming thing is that Haryana and Punjab, which are called the most one of the developed states in India, because they have lots of productive things like agriculture and factories and all, they are getting a good amount of per capita income. So these states are showing a decline in female numbers. It is below 800 female children per 1,000 male children. Okay. So a question is there, what factors are responsible for it? Is it social attitude or scientific methods of sex determination? I don't think that scientific methods of sex determination is a reason, because nowadays it is prohibited, right? And it is a punishable offense. If any of the hospitals are providing the information about the baby's male or female, it is an punishable offense. So that won't be the main reason. I just believe that it is the attitude, social attitude of the people. Maybe because of lack of awareness, they don't feel the importance of a female child. They don't know what a girl can do, what a female girl is capable of. Same as that of a boy, a girl can also do many things. Even some things that boy even can't just imagine of. Okay. Now, so I think girls are happy now. Okay, now let's move on to indicators of social empowerment. So what are the indicators of social empowerment? Development is freedom. You know, in last chapter we have discussed about this, right? Our Dr. Mahbub ul Haq and Amartya Sen, when we were just discussing about them, the most important thing which they stress was upon freedom. Freedom gives choices, and that is the most important thing of development. Freedom from hunger, poverty, servitude, bondage, ignorance, illiteracy, and many other forms of domination is the key to human development. So here the freedom means the freedom from hunger, poverty. Servitude is being a slave, being felt like a slave. Bondage, we are born to somewhere, we have bonds everywhere. Ignorance, we are not getting that respect, we are not getting that, even if we have that caliber, but we are ignored. Illiteracy, lack of education, and any other forms of domination. Everywhere we can see domination, everywhere there is domination, is the key to human development. If the people are free from all these things, then we can say that, yeah, human development is there. Freedom in real sense of the term is possible only with the empowerment and participation of the people in the exercise of their capabilities and choices in the society. This can be only done if we are giving them the power of freedom. What freedom? That they are able to exercise their capabilities, their abilities to the society. In the same way, they are given choices, which can provide them with different choices, which will be very much useful for the society. Access to knowledge about the society and environment are fundamental to freedom. So, access to knowledge, the most important thing is getting knowledge. Getting knowledge in the sense is to learn, right? So, access to knowledge about the society and environment are fundamental to freedom. Literacy is the beginning of access to such a world of knowledge and freedom. So, for getting that freedom which is needed for the human development, what is the important component? Yes, it is education, literacy. Okay? Now, table 3.3 showing the percentage of literates in India reveals some interesting features. Okay? Let's see our table which shows the literacy rate of India. Okay? You can see the literacy rate of India in the particular table, right? So it will be very nice if you see, we will be very much happy if we locate Kerala. So where is Kerala? This is, see. So Kerala ranks first in literacy in India. So not only about sex ratio, in literacy also Kerala is the best in India. And the most important part is that female literacy. Female literacy is also highest in Kerala. It is obvious that the states which are having good literacy rates, overall good literacy rate, the female literacy rate will also be a good one. Okay? You just read out the stuff. Overall literacy in India is approximately 65.4% according to 2001 census, while female literacy is 54.16%. There may be some other numbers also, but according to 2001 census, this is the result. 2011 results are also there. Let me just check it out in our textbook what it is given. In your textbook, I think it's 74.04. That is according to 2011 2011 census it is 74.04%, and female literacy is 65.46%. Okay, that is the thing here. Actually, the PDF which is in the net it is bit old, and in textbook you have the correct numbers, which is according to the 2011 census. Okay, so census reports are the accurate results that are showing that have been shown over here. Total literacy as well as female literacy is higher than the national average in most of the states from South India. So it is in South India, if you just see the states in South India, like if we are just seeing, let's see South India. Yeah, Tamil Nadu, you can see that. It's 73.47, right? Tamil Nadu, in textbook it is it's 80.33 total literacy, and 73.86 is the female literacy. So you can just see that this is even more better than that of the total overall literacy rate. So it's in South India, but the case is different in North India. When we move on to North India, the scenario totally changes. Okay. There are wide regional disparities in literacy rate across the states of India. There are wide regional disparities in literacy rate across the states of India. There is a state like Bihar which has very low 47.53. You know, in Bihar the total literacy rate is very less. It is like 63.82 according to 2011 census. You can check in your textbook. It is 63.82, and female literacy is 53.33. Okay. So Mizoram and Kerala are the two states where the literacy rate is in a very good number. You can see Kerala, it is 93.91 and 91.98, and if you just check Mizoram, it is, where is Mizoram? Mizoram is 91.58 and 89.40. Okay. So now, apart from the spatial variations, percentage of literates in the rural areas and among the marginalized sections of a society, such as females, scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, agricultural laborers, etc., is very low. We were talking about states, right? In states, we can just see that there is big disparities, there are big differences and all. But even in these states, if you just consider the literacy rate according to different society, different community, there will be a big difference. For example, females. Even if you see Kerala also, even if you just consider Kerala also, you can see that 93.91% of males are literate, means total literacy is 93.91 according to the 2011 census. But here also the female literacy is 91.98. So we can just imagine that, we can just understand that the male literacy is more in Kerala also. Okay, so that is one thing which we have to consider. Females are always, in all the states, the female literacy rate is less than that of the male. In the same way, scheduled caste and scheduled tribes, they are the people who are socially discriminated, but not now. In some places, only in some places. When we just consider this part of people, this part of society also, we can just see that the number of females and males who are literate are also in less number. In the same way, agricultural laborers also are deprived of education, or they are not given that opportunity of getting education. It is due to the profession which they have chosen. Okay, they are agricultural laborers, so they just feel like that they want to be in field always, right? So it is worth mentioning here that though there has been improvement in the percentage of literates among the marginalized section, yet the gap between the richer and the marginalized sections of the population has increased over the years. Yeah, we can say that, yeah, in the case of Literacy, yeah, we have attained a good number in the case of literacy. The percentage of literates in our state or our country is increasing, but still the people are educated. We know that people are educated, they are getting education. Even the people which we discussed here as scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, agricultural laborers, they are sending their children to school, they are getting educated, they also want to get good job and all, but still we know that the educated people are unemployed. The highly educated people are still unemployed in our country. So because of that reason, the gap between the richer and marginalized section is still going on. The people who are rich are becoming richer and richer. The people who are poor are mostly going to the lower level. So guys, this is for today. I will find the latest version of that PDF, because the PDF which we are taking over here, which is available in the net, is, I think, is somewhat old one. I'll just try to get the same version which is available in the textbook, so that I can just narrate that stuff. I can show you from the smart board, okay? So for now it's fine. So we'll see tomorrow. So your next class will be starting soon. Okay, bye. Thank you.